Hey guys, it's Elise and welcome back to My Cupcake Addiction. Today we're going way back to my childhood and I'm going to show you how to take a regular Easter egg and turn it into a Mr. Potato Head. I grew up with Mr. and Mrs. Potato Head and all of their various outfits, so I'm super excited to show you guys today how to make your own chocolate Mr. Potato Head. Easter eggs are in store at the moment, so it's the perfect time if you want to skip a couple of steps to stock up on your Mr. Potato Head bodies. But if you're watching this out of season, check online because Easter egg molds are available year round and you can just make your own eggs. For my candy today, I've got a dark chocolate, I'm using a Lindt ball, dark chocolate truffle. I've got jelly beans, so I've got them in pink, red and black. Some small solid Easter eggs, which I keep eating. I got a set of lips because I'm going to show you how to make a Mrs. Potato Head as well because Mr. Potato Head needs Mrs. Potato Head. I've got a few Oreo cookies or chocolate sandwich cookies. I've got some white candy melts and some dark candy melts, both of those melted. A few toothpicks, a small piece of parchment and a snap seal bag. You're also going to need a really sharp knife. We're not operating on Mr. Potato Head. He's going to be just fine. Let's get started. Now each of your potato heads are going to need 2 eyes and 2 arms, and if you're doing Mr. Potato Head, he also needs a little set of teeth. Mrs. Potato Head has lips. So I'm just going to do a nice little round circle, and I recommend doing a few of these so that you've got a few different ones to choose from and you can pick even eyes. So for the arms, I really just kind of fudged this, but just make sure that this part of the arm is a little bit longer than you want it because you can always break it shorter, but if you find they're too short, you can't make it longer after the fact. So I started with a little upwards pointing arm, a thumb, and then 4 kind of just really short fingers, or 3, I don't think it really matters. So now that I've got my arms that go like that, I'm going to do 2 that go like this. So basically the same but opposite. Then for your Mr. Potato Head's teeth, you just want to paint like a really small kind of a half moon shape or a semicircle, and I just used a toothpick to add a couple of little ridges to sort of look like teeth. These don't have to be perfect. And then finally, I'm going to use an Oreo cookie for Mr. Potato Head's hat, but Mrs. Potato Head doesn't have a white cookie. So I'm going to pipe just a little disc and I'm going to use a white Lindt ball to make the top of her hat, but I'll pipe the disc first. So about the same size as an Oreo. I don't want her to miss out on sun protection. We can pop those off to the side. I'm also going to cut in half the white Lindt ball and we can sit that just on top as that chocolate starts to set. Mrs. Potato Head has a hat. Mr. Potato Head's going to have his hat made by cutting out dark Lindt ball in half. And I'm going to attach that one with a little bit of white chocolate. So we have hats, arms and eyes. Moving on to the feet. So for Mr. Potato Head, I'm only going to use blue little Easter eggs. For Mrs. Potato Head, I was going to do her shoes blue, but I thought she needs to make a statement. How's it going to be yellow? So I'm going to take my foil covered Easter eggs and I'm going to cut them lengthways. I'm cutting them with the foil on, and as I get to the bottom, I'm going to run the knife along so I get a nice deep cut. Now all I want to see is this little blue section at the front. So I'm also going to take my knife and I'm just going to cut away anything else so that I've got chocolate at the back and none of the foil is actually touching any of my Mr. Potato Head chocolate. Make a nice little line and remove this excess foil. It's like the little tip of a little tap shoe. Keep those little guys foil covered. Take one unwrapped one and cut that in half as well because this is going to help to stabilize the back so that your potato people are not too back heavy. We're getting closer. We're going to get our toothpicks ready now, and I've got my melted either dark or milk chocolate, and I am going to put a little blob on the back of each of the feet, not touching that foil, and then also on that extra little half of an Easter egg at the back there. Grab your eggs, make sure that if there's any seams in the egg, you're kind of having those on either side so they're not on the front of your Mr. or Mrs. Potato Head, and then I'm going to pop it straight down on top. You've got a couple of minutes to get around the front and make sure that you're happy that our little feet are in position nicely and that the egg is really nice and straight on there. Mr. Potato Head goes on next. We're starting to build little potato people, chocolate potato people. All right, well, you've got your chocolate out. We can just add some little eyeballs and details to the eyes because they should be starting to set. Leave these guys alone to set for at least 5 or so minutes, and I wouldn't recommend setting them in the fridge because it can make your chocolate go a little bit funny when it goes in and out of the fridge too many times. So I'm just going to put a couple of little dots of milk chocolate in for the eyeballs. For Mrs. Potato Head's eyes, I'm just going to go kind of across the top a little bit just to give her more of like a hooded eye. I'm going to slide a knife underneath and I'm just going to move those 2 eyes onto a clean piece of parchment just because I don't want to have any mess around the top of the eye to make it less circular before giving her a couple of eyeballs. I also found some little pink sprinkles that I had that were shaped like flowers, so I popped one of them just front row center on Mrs. Potato Head's hat. So for Mr. Potato Head's mustache, he's just got 2 black jelly beans, and for his eyebrows, he has 1 black jelly bean, and we're going to cut that one in half. He's also got his red nose and his 2 pink ears. You can kind of almost see him starting to come together there a little bit. Mrs. Potato Head, I'm going to give a pink nose to because I don't want it to clash with her beautiful red lips. She's going to have her red lips here. She's also going to have 2 pink ears. And I'm going to give her black eyebrows, but I want these to be really thin. They don't need to be all Groucho Marx like Mr. Potato Head. So I'm going to cut the jelly bean in half, take 1/2 of it, and just cut the very, very top. So I've kind of got just a really nice sort of a fine eyebrow. Let's stick them together. I'm going to use my melted milk chocolate rather than my white for everything that I'm sticking onto the eggs, just because the eggs are milk chocolate and I don't want to see any white peeking out around the edges. So we'll start with Mr. Potato Head. First his hat, and on it goes. And then I like to do his ears because that kind of gives me that central point in the head, and then I know where to put the eyes and everything else. You want to position the ears just slightly higher than halfway up, so in that top third somewhere, and then the eyes should be almost in line with the ears, maybe just a little fraction taller, with the eyebrows going on third above the eyes. Next goes his red nose, and you may need to support some of these just for a minute or two, just while that chocolate becomes tacky, so they don't slide down the egg. Now on go the teeth. Make sure that you're leaving enough room for his mustache above, but you want to let those teeth completely set because they'll kind of have this little ridge and they'll help support the weight of the mustache when it goes in place. He's almost finished, he just needs to be stashed. So now you can add all of your same accessories to Mrs. Potato Head in the exact same way, just using your melted chocolate to attach first the hat, then the ears, the eyes, the eyebrows, the nose, and those beautiful big red lips. The last thing to do with your potato heads is to attach the arms. This is probably the trickiest part because they're made out of chocolate. Your finger warmth can tend to melt them a little bit. You want to just break off a very, very small amount so you've kind of got like a flat side. You want to put just a little bit of your melted white chocolate, and don't go too crazy here because we want it to set pretty quickly, and these aren't that heavy. And go just under the ear and just support it for about 10 to 20 seconds until it goes tacky. But really try to go light on how much finger you've got. You can see I'm only resting just the very, very tip of my finger on there so I don't go risking melting his hand or melting his arm. I kind of wish I'd had a small sugar handbag to hang over Mrs. Potato Head's arm. Once that one can support its own weight, you can let it go. It will continue to dry though, so make sure you just give them a few minutes before you start moving them around. These are our potato heads. In hindsight, Mrs. Potato Head's lips might be a little bit too big for her face. I know she's got overstated lips, but I think she's also had some serious work done. Mr. Potato Head is my favorite. As far as I'm concerned, he's the classic, but you've got your 2 options for a Mr. and Mrs. Potato Head made out of some Easter eggs and some store-bought candy. If you're not already subscribed to the channel, make sure you do for 2 new videos every week. There are literally hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of fun ideas on there for all sorts of things that you can bake, not bake, make and create using cakes, candies, sweets and desserts. Thanks very much for watching.